The 60s is a time when one enters the twilight of life, but it is also another starting point. However, after retirement, many people live with similar worries. And today, we would like to share the 10 biggest worries that retirees around the world commonly experience. The first thing that comes to mind is economic instability, as there is always the fear that life is not sufficient with only a pension and that funds may be depleted if one lives longer than expected. And in fact, a couple in the United States downsized their home after retirement and instead opened a small cafe to create a new source of income and continued their lives. In this way, economic problems are not simply a matter of money, but also a matter of how to design and continue life in the future. The second is the health issue. And even if you have a lot of time after retirement, if your health does not support you, your quality of life will easily decline. And chronic diseases such as high blood pressure and diabetes are a common concern for the elderly around the world, but there is also a clear way to slow down aging and maintain vitality through consistent exercise and lifestyle management. The third is the issue of supporting children, and many retirees are still worried about their children's marriage, housing, and employment, and even take on the care of their grandchildren. And a Korean grandmother spends her day taking care of her grandchildren, and a European father still supports his children's living expenses. But life after retirement is not just for children, but now it should be a time to take care of myself. The fourth is the relationship with a spouse. And because they spend all day together after retirement, their relationship tends to drift apart, and there are many cases where differences in lifestyle patterns and minor conflicts accumulate. But a Japanese couple found a way to get closer again by traveling together after retirement, and in the end, the secret to a good marital relationship after retirement is not to bind each other, but to give each other freedom. The fifth is social isolation and loneliness. And as opportunities to meet people decrease after leaving work, loneliness comes even more strongly, and the death of a friend or the severance of social relationships leaves an emptiness in the heart. But if you build new relationships through club activities or community service, you can overcome isolation, and life after retirement shines more when it is reconnected with society. The sixth is the loss of meaning and worth in life. And when you quit your job, there are times when you forget who you were, and a sense of emptiness of what should I do now comes. But some people found a new meaning by exhibiting paintings they started as a hobby. And in the end, the worth of life comes not from a job, but from how I connect with the world. The seventh is the housing problem, and the choice between the convenience of the city and the leisure of the countryside. And living with children and living independently is never easy. But the important thing is not money, but the value of what kind of life I want. Eighth is leisure utilization. And there are many cases of wandering because they don't know how to spend the suddenly increased time. But there are various people, from volunteer work, travel, learning musical instruments, and even starting YouTube. And the time after retirement should be a time to create new meaning, not just a time to consume. Ninth is family relationship conflict. And conflicts arise with daughters-in-law or sons-in-law, or differences in childcare methods with grandchildren. But the answer is not interference, but respect. And relationships can become healthier through respect. The last 10th is anxiety about death and preparing for old age. And everyone has a final moment that they will face someday. But if they do not prepare, it can be a big burden on their family. And in the United States, they often prepare in advance by writing a living will or through inheritance counseling in Europe. And preparing for death is also wisdom for living the rest of your life more beautifully. Ultimately, the concerns of retirees in their 60s are not very different anywhere in the world. But there are also ways to solve them within. And if you take care of your health, maintain relationships, and create new meaning in life, life after retirement can be another golden age.